Okay, I'm going to shoot a brief video on a clip that came up today on YouTube. Jordan Peterson, are you a puppet of your culture? Question mark. And it says that Jordan Peterson talks in January 2017 about people as puppets of culture. He also discusses other things such as a conversation he had with atheist Sam Harris about determinism and free will. This clip comes from 2017 Maps of Meaning, Marionettes and Individuals. I've listened to it. It's a travesty, and I'll explain why. Let's go.
Puppet of your culture. You're a marionette of your culture. And so maybe you could be more than that. And that's the other thing that's strange about this movie, and it's strange about the mythological way of looking at the world, because scientifically, deterministically, there's nature and there's culture. And you are the deterministic product of the interaction between nature and culture. There's nothing else to you than that. That's that. But the mythological world doesn't say that. It says something different. It says that there's nature and culture, and then there's you. And the you that's in there has choices and a destiny, and that you actually affect the interplay of nature and culture in determining your own character. And it insists upon that. The oldest stories we have, there's always the hero and the archetypal mother and the archetypal father.
Okay, I mean, again, unartful description of the impossibility of free will thanks to a deterministic universe. If you want to understand that, go to somebody else. He just about gets it right, though. I wouldn't just say culture, though. Everything is predetermined. It has to be, since the Big Bang. But he's about to go off the rails. Okay?
It's always those three things. There's never just two. So, from the narrative perspective, there's always the implication that there's something autonomous about the hero of the story. And, you know,
which is fine.
You can't account for that. We don't have a good way of accounting for that from a scientific perspective. I was having a discussion with Sam Harris the other day, which was very, what would you say? He said we got wrapped around an axle, which is pretty much, Sam Harris is one of the four famous, atheists, along with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and Dan Dennett.
But let's just make clear that Sam Harris is in the camp of everybody who's intellectually honest. Sorry to say it that directly. You cannot have free will. You can't even get a good definition of it. It's impossible. You didn't create yourself. The universe started 14.8 billion years ago, and causality has been going on ever since. And no one is outside of that causality. So you're either someone who subscribes to religious doctrine of many sorts that claim you have free will, which I would term as evil. I think evil is a good word here. You can have free will. And what Jordan Peterson is about to do is try to make it sound like Sam Harris is some hardcore believer in something and that he sees an in-between. There is no in-between. You can't have a little free will. We don't have it in this universe. Period. End of sentence. There is no discussion.
He's a determinist, just right down to the bottom. It's like you're determined, there's no
Everybody is a determinist who doesn't work for the fucking Vatican.
Free will. You're a deterministic machine. If you're a coherent scientist, if you're a Newtonian, roughly speaking, you don't really have much choice other than to think that way, but that isn't...
Nobody has any choice to think that who's interested in the truth. There is no room at all for free will. There is emergent research about non-deterministic behavior of subatomic particles, in quantum mechanics. That is under discussion. It doesn't matter which way it goes. you still don't have free will because you still aren't consciously the author of your own thoughts, and you didn't build your brain, and you didn't pick what century you were born in, etc., 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 etc.
How it seems to people. And we don't treat each other that way. And our entire legal system is predicated on the idea that you do, in fact, have free will.
That's true. The wording of our laws talks about free will. A sensible person would simply swap out the words free will as intent. Intent matters, right? Intentionally kill someone, it's a hell of a lot different than accidentally killing them when your brakes fail in your car. Intent matters, and that's how we dole out punishment. Has nothing to do with free will, although those words are all over the Supreme Court, etc. That's true.
So, well, can we account for it? Well, no. And do we have a scientific model for it? No. But then I would also say we do.
Okay, so he just said he and Sam Harris are identical. Can we account for it? No. Is there a scientific explanation for it? No. Okay. The analysis is over, right? If you got no evidence, you're not talking about much.
We do not have a scientific model for consciousness. We don't know a damn thing about consciousness, which is why Dan Dennett...
All right. He just switched from free will to consciousness. Two entirely different things. The free will argument is ironclad and over, okay? Deterministic universe equals no free will. So find another universe. Then he switches to something that is, frankly, inexplicable, the consciousness that we all have, which is inexplicable, and it seems like even thousands of years of thinking about it, all we've learned is the most evidence for it is cogito ergo sum. Descartes' famous "I think, therefore I am." Literally, being the thinker of thoughts or the experiencer of experience itself is the only evidence for consciousness, which does open up a lot of interesting thoughts about survival of the consciousness after death and so on. There's room for people who believe in a lot of this stuff. You don't have to lie to people, okay? The consciousness is inexplicable. It could, in principle, because we don't understand it enough to say no, it could survive the death of the brain and go elsewhere and perhaps exist forever. But you don't have to lie about free will, and you don't have to lie about there being in-betweens and saying both sides of the argument, okay?
Dennett's book, which was called Consciousness Explained, was referred to by its critics as Consciousness Explained Away, which is exactly right as far as I'm concerned, because he took a mechanistic approach, and I just don't think you get to do that, because there's something really weird about consciousness. I mean,
who's talking about consciousness? So he mentions Sam Harris and determinism, and he mentions the four atheists for no good reason, okay? None at all, right? They understand the science, okay? And they're honest about it, just like everybody else worth listening to, okay? And now you do the old bait and switch to consciousness, which is truly inexplicable, and now you're going to riff on that. They're not the same thing. You didn't make that clear. Maybe this is edited. I don't know.
The phenomenologists like Heidegger, who tried to radically transform Western philosophy right from the bottom up, he basically said, well, you know, you can treat the world as if consciousness is primary and that human experience is reality. That's reality. And that it doesn't exist independently of consciousness in any explicable way. It's like, well, what's out there if there's nothing to experience it? Well, everything at once. It's something like that. It's not really comprehensible. As without a subject, the subject defines it and makes it real. Now, you don't have to believe that, but at least I'm telling you that there are thoroughly coherent philosophical positions that make that case very strongly, and that allow consciousness to exist as a phenomenon and to take it seriously. And you certainly act like you take it seriously. You act like...
I mean, this guy is supposed to be saying free will. We act like we take it seriously. We act like we have it. That's all true, okay? He is conflating quote-unquote libertarian free will with consciousness to his students. And this is part of a speaking series, I mean, if he made a correction after this, or if I'm getting this totally wrong, I want to know. He means to. It sounds like he means to always be talking about free will, and that there are ways you can get it. That's bullshit. Okay, 1,000%. Why am I saying that so clearly? There's zero evidence, and there's overwhelming 14.8 billion years of evidence to the contrary. That's a lot.
There's a you, and that you make choices, and you certainly treat other people that way. Deterministic or not, you're still going to get angry when they're being, rude to you, and you're going to act as if they had some choice in the matter. Now, maybe that's an illusion, possibly, but maybe
it is an illusion, and you know it's an illusion because you agreed that there's no scientific explanation for free will, but because you're saying the word consciousness, I don't know, maybe you're consciously saying the word consciousness because you don't understand the free will argument. They're not the same thing, right?
It's not. And I would say the oldest stories that we have always include that as not only a fundamental element, but even as the fundamental element.
Okay, that's the end. That last bit is fine. That's true. And that's why religion is so valueless. It doesn't represent reality. I like fiction as well. I've read holy books as well. I understand. I've read at least a little bit of the Christian theologians of yore, Assisi and the rest of them, whatever their names were. It's been years. Uncaused cause and all this stuff. It's in the ash heap, and there's a reason. We understand physics now. And this guy is conflating the two, going back and forth, wishy-washy, and claiming that he's somehow different than Sam Harris. Well, are you or aren't you? Okay? We can't find out because you didn't say, as usual, definitively about anything. I'm really fascinated by this guy, and I'm in dialogue on a thread on another video where Peterson mentions Harris, and there's a long thread there, and there's some really sincere people who, one guy recently, sincerely engaging, aren't you a little too harsh on this guy? I don't think so. We're not harsh enough on this guy. This guy is lazy, wrong all the time, the science is muddled, he goes back and forth. I mean, listen to anybody talk about libertarian free will, and you'll understand it. It might take a while, but you'll understand that it's impossible, okay? Truly impossible. And if you want preachers, this is what I tell a lot of people online. Listen to MLK, listen to somebody you admire, but not somebody who commingles science and myth. They are antithetical to one another, and they never won't be. Okay? The minute the claims get extravagant without evidence, it's garbage. Okay? Now, mythical stories with heroes with free will to do otherwise, outside the causal stream, great story. Interesting. Fascinating. Love it. Can't exist in this world. That needs to be made clear to your students, buddy. What side are you on? And then to confuse free will with consciousness. I mean, dude, you should be trying to get this video taken down, Mr. Peterson. This is an embarrassment. I'm sorry. What do people see in this guy? I still can't figure it out. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening. I'll be posting more on him soon.